Welcome, everyone, to the 40 in Tennessee podcast. I'm Josh, here with Houston and Randy. Yeah. I hope you guys had a good holiday and a happy new year. By the time we're recording this on January 1st of 2025.
Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year's. Happy New Year's to the followers. Thanks for our listeners. Hope you guys have enjoyed it thus far. We're going to be talking about our primary research area, which we don't really actually name. It's just our primary area. We don't like to give that away. Just the way it is. What do you guys think about the drone situation? The theories keep evolving.
Yeah, I don't know, man. What are your thoughts on that?
I heard a good one.
They're more up your way.
I know. There's been sightings up here in Boston, on the South Shore in Boston.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Again, it's how much is it misidentification and like how much is it, it is weird seeing all these fucking drones up there, But there was heard a good theory, rogue AI. AI's gotten out.
It's
And
the beginning of Skynet.
it's gotten a hold of all these drones and it's just zipping around. I thought that was pretty good.
I haven't heard that theory yet. That's a good one.
That's what this is that the AI got out. They were talking about that, like ChatGPT tried to like copy itself because it was gonna get outdated. So it like tried to secretly copy itself, and then like when asked about it, it lied. So they're like, maybe it got into these drones and it's flying around.
That's scarier than the government doing it to me.
Look, we're going into 2025 and they still haven't told us what the fuck's going on with that.
Yeah.
But I mean, these sightings have been happening since what, 2019? They said.
Yeah, a few years.
It's been going on for a while. So, I don't know. We can't get any definite answers on these damn things.
So where the Canadian prepper, which I know Randy likes, they were saying that pretty much the way that the government's saying it's not them, it pretty much leaves it up to where it's got to be one of the three-letter, FBI, CIA, whatever, or just civilian drones.
Yeah. I mean, it is weird. Like, the people that are reporting, like, they see the drones and they try to put up their own drones and they get, like, shut down.
Yeah, that one's creepy.
It's
Oh, really?
Yeah. Someone up here by me saw one of these drones. They were down on the South Shore. They went out and launched their own drone, but it locked up their drone. They couldn't launch it. And there's been a couple other people that have reported doing that have like kind of come forward saying like, oh, I've been seeing it, and I've been trying to launch my drone to see what the hell these things are, and every time they try to launch it, like it won't let them launch their drone if they're in the vicinity of one of these things.
Huh.
Yeah. There's been news reports about it.
That's interesting.
And there's been guys that have been like kind of going in front of the news and talking about it.
I haven't heard about them being shut down. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
I mean, it's scary shit. That's scary shit.
I mean, the theory, that they're looking for like a rogue nuclear material or something like that. That's the one that,
That's scary as hell, man. That's so
Yeah.
scary. That's the worst one. I'd rather it just be like the AI got out and they're in these Amazon drones that are flying around now. Like we're trying to catch them.
I think that one's been kind of debunked though, right? Like a lot of people have actually come out and spoke on that.
I thought I don't know. It was weird. I don't know how much information is like right about it and stuff. I know they said they were moving a nuclear warhead and it didn't get to port or whatever, but like also like how much is that information right?
Yeah.
Just weird. I mean, Guys, got any weird stuff going on down there?
Not really, man. It's been
Nothing.
recovering from Christmas.
I'm still just trying to find that Moses
No.
clip. I'm gonna give up till later.
No one
No,
got
I
visited
was
by
gonna
ghosts?
do what?
No 3 ghosts? No one got, Christmas caroled?
Christmas Carol.
Yeah, did you get Christmas? Did you get Scrooged?
Thankfully, no.
Oh, all right. Just making sure,
I was gonna tell you guys. So, like, my dad's side of the family, they always ran out a cabin in Rock Island, and we went up there, and we always do Dirty Santa, but we always just do like goofy socks. And I like it because it's like nobody's disappointed. Like you're going home with it. Like I bought some Cheech and Chong socks,
Yeah.
and so we
Someone's
traded that. I went home with Dragon Ball Z socks. It was fun.
grandma's
But
walking around with fucking joints and bongs on her feet now.
right. But we all got this bag at the end. Like I don't. We still don't know who got it, which is kind of like the main fun part of this story. But everybody got this little bag. Like it came out of Bucky's.
Mhm.
And when you opened it, everybody got this little. It was made out of sheet metal. This Sasquatch that did like the famous like patty walk and stuff. And nobody will admit that they're the ones that got it for everybody. So like we're all trying to like who got us all this Bigfoot memorabilia. So yeah.
Was it you?
No, I just kind of like looked
Oh,
around and was
That's what
like,
I was thinking. Like I just expected that was you that did it.
You're the likely
No.
suspect.
yeah. So I don't talk to my family about this. So
Yeah, you don't talk to them much about it. I mean, I don't either. They
No.
just kind of look at me. They're like,
that's what I've said in the past. Like we need a whole episode of like what we've said or what our family has said when we mentioned this stuff.
it's weird. It's weird to talk to my family about it if I bring it up. My family doesn't like really think about weird stuff in the world at all. Not that they're like not open to it. Last Christmas I was down visiting my parents in Florida, and we were one of the nights just sitting on the back porch talking, and I just was like, they had just done the one of the congressional hearings with Grush. So I was like, hey, did you guys see that? Isn't that wild? They're talking, this is something that's happening. And they were like, where are the aliens? They're just like, if they're here, where are they? Like, and it was like the most truest. Like, I hope they're aliens. It makes sense. My dad was just like, statistically, it's just there should be. He's like, but where the hell are they? He's like, if they're here, what the hell? When I talked to him about Bigfoot stuff, they go, because I have my uncles, are all hunters, up here in like New Hampshire and Maine and stuff. They kind of get like, well, your uncles have never seen anything weird out in the woods and stuff. Now my uncles, one-on-one, will be like, there's weird stuff in the woods,
Right.
but like they'd never seen anything.
Yeah.
There was an incident, and now that we like are thinking about it, there was this one time my parents had they had a house up in New Hampshire by like Winnipesaukee, Lake Winnipesaukee up there. And where they had like a ranch style house, and they had like my uncles were up there, my parents, my grandmother and stuff. They were doing something for like the weekend over the summer. My mom had called me, and it was like late night. I want to say like maybe like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. So they were like just all hanging out and stuff. She called me and she was like, "Hey, I wanted to explain something, like ask you something." I'm like, "What's up?" She goes, "Because you go look for Bigfoot." And I'm like, "Okay." And I'm like, "What?" Like it's 9 o'clock at night. Why is my mom calling me about Bigfoot now? And I'm like, "Yeah, why?" She goes, "Are there Bigfoot up here?" And I said, my own theory, I don't think so. I said, I think it's too heavily populated with people. I think we'd have more sightings. I was like, it's also like really cold. I'm like, I'm not too sure. I said, but maybe in the summer they might come migrate down. I don't know, depending. I'm like, why? And she goes, well, we're just sitting on the back porch, and something just walked through the backwood area. And we don't know what the hell it is. And I'm like, what do you mean something just walked through the backwood area? So they had like a small back porch in the backyard. They had wasn't more than like maybe like 15, 20 yards, and then it's just wood line, up in New Hampshire. But there's like other houses. They're pretty spaced out. And I'm like, she goes, I don't know. I just heard this thing. Like, we just heard it like sound like just a person kind of moving through the woods. And I'm like, I can hear my uncles there and stuff. I'm like, my uncles are there. Like, my dad's there and stuff. I'm like, what do they think it is? I was like, you got two hunters there. My uncles were like, we have no clue what it is. They were like shouting it, like thinking it's a person. But they said that like they could hear it like just knocking stuff over and like walking through the woods. No, they never responded back. I'm like, guys, I have no clue. But like that's the only thing. I've brought it back up. My parents won't even talk about it.
No.
I think Randy's frozen again, but it's like in the perfect pose.
Yeah,
so
he was the perfect.
you wouldn't even know.
I'm good with that. I'm actually good with that.
He's intently listening.
Yeah.
But I've brought that back up, and they kind of just like, oh, it's whatever. We don't have that place anymore anyway. So.
Yeah, I've got one story about my dad, which I'll save to like when we actually talk about that area. But he was probably the one that would just like make fun of me the most, and it was always playful. But he's like, okay, yeah, like you guys are just going out and going out into the woods, looking for Bigfoot, and
yeah. What do you think we're doing then? Like, what do you think we're doing?
I think for him specifically, just as a parent, I think he was always worried about us going out in caves. Like when I told him some of the stuff that we would go to, like that always freaked him out. He's like, you're not going to have service. You're not going to have,
no,
any way to get. So he's like, just be careful, guys. So that's usually all he would say. But
well, that does scare me when we go out there. Is like there's times there's not a signal at all. I always have that in the back of my head that like. You can't just call out, you can't just call to get the F out, and you can't get a signal. That scares the crap out of me because, in the areas we go into, like, there's freaking mountain lions. There's, poisonous snakes and stuff, too, I'm not worried about the Sasquatch. That's the thing.
Right.
He's like the last thing I'm actually worried about.
After the convention, and he kind of, like, saw how many people showed up and stuff, he's like, okay, this is pretty cool, and, like, he's a little bit more, he doesn't dismiss it as much.
Yeah, that's good. But
yeah, speaking of just being unprepared, I mean, you sent us that in the news right now where those two guys, was it in Washington State?
Oh, yeah. You want to bring that?
They were from Oregon.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they were in Washington State where they perished, unfortunately.
You got it, Josh, or you want me to?
Can you bring it up?
Yeah, give me just 1 second.
Find it on my end. Oh, there it is.
Welcome back.
Actually, like I said, when you sent this to me, I saw it the other day, and I just was like, oh, I'll get back to it. And then it was actually in our local like Nashville news. I was like, okay.
Oh, it popped up. Well, here, like. How did they know they were going out to look for Sasquatch? Do we know?
Do what?
Like, how did it, like, were these like two field researchers that like people knew, like, or were these just just a couple guys trying to go look for Bigfoot for first time? It seems so weird because like a lot of people that like would go out and do this, like, would go out prepared,
Yeah, 2 men were found dead in a remote forest while searching for Sasquatch, also commonly known as Bigfoot, according to authorities in Washington State.
I'm sorry to laugh. I just don't like.
No.
That's what they're like. 2 men were.
Yeah, making sure to be clear about.
Commonly known as the Wild Man. 2 men from Portland, Oregon were found dead after a 3-day search, which was launched on Christmas Day after a family member reported that the pair had not returned from a trip to the Gifford, is that Gifford Pinot National Forest, to search for proof of the mythical hairy forest-dwelling bipedal primates.
That's a good description right there.
It involved over 60 volunteers searching with aircrafts and dogs in heavily wooded terrain and brutally cold weather.
Dang.
Both deaths appear to be to exposure based on weather conditions and ill preparedness.
See, that makes me think the ill preparedness there makes me think that they just weren't dressed accordingly, to
Yeah.
be out in the bush in that kind of weather.
Yeah, I didn't know if the temperature dropped. Maybe it was like a cold front that came in suddenly too. The weather can just change,
My thing,
It says snow, freezing, rain, and temperatures falling below freezing. So
Yeah,
they had to battle high water levels in rivers and fallen trees.
gotcha. It was just a bad situation. Crap.
Or 37 and 59. I did see that. A person could get a year in jail or $1,000 fine if one of the folklore creatures is harmed, in quotations.
Gotcha. All right. Don't be harming them up there.
I just, like I said, I ain't trying to be disrespectful. I just don't understand.
Yeah.
You don't go out with a cell phone, and even it's like I text you guys, like there's places where you go where there's no service, but my Google Maps always works. And there's times we've been lost, and it's like, okay, let's get our bearings back and get back to where we need to, the trail or wherever we came out of. But I just don't understand. Don't go out there unprepared.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Yeah, it's just that they tacked. It's just that they, these two guys, died looking for Sasquatch. Just the way they phrased the opening of it, it's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. There's another video going around, and I meant to send it to Randy, but it was a rattlesnake biting this kid. Have you seen that?
Oh God, no.
I have not.
It's just been in the last 2 days that. Yesterday I saw it for the first
What's
time.
your algorithm? Jeez.
I don't know. Randy's messed it up by sending me all this stuff. I didn't follow Canadian Prepper, but he's all over my Twitter now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But yeah, the kid, he gets bit on the ankle, and he's actually calm as all of his friends are freaking out. But he's like, "Yeah, get me back to the car before I can't walk anymore." And I probably got a couple seconds before blah, and his leg starts going numb, and then it shows him in the hospital, and it's all bruised and stuff, and he's on the phone with his parents. But they had to give him. Let me look it up. A lot of antivenom, I know.
Oh,
what did you get bitten by? A rattlesnake?
Yeah.
That scares the shit out of me. That's why I always wear nice high boots when I go down there with you guys.
Yeah, if I ever go up to the quarry at all, I wear shin guards or snake guard, snake boots.
Yeah.
Because I've seen so many rattlesnakes up there at the quarry.
I'm not going to share this, but yeah. So David Humphreys, 25, travels to the United States to find and showcase wildlife, particularly snakes and other reptiles. He was searching for snakes on December 18th. I just felt out of nowhere this intense pain in my right leg. Honestly, it felt like an alligator.
Oof. Wait, how does he know? Is he bit by an alligator?
Yeah, he got bit, and he's like, "Well, I'm cooked."
Oh, I'm cooked. Oh. Dang.
Yeah, doctors gave him 88 vials of antivenom.
Whoa.
I thought it was close to 100, but I didn't want to say that without looking again.
Good Lord.
That's all.
Yeah, his leg looked pretty rough when we. But yeah, that's all over Facebook right now.
Yeah.
Interesting cultural timestamp.
Yeah. I'm cooked. All right, let's talk about our
We want
primary.
to. Do we want to get Tato in here, or do we want
Um,
to? We want to.
here we go. Hey, Tato.
Hello.
How
I'm
are
in
you?
my closet because I echo so bad it sounds like I'm in a bathroom.
That's fine. Randy's not moved in 20 minutes. So
Oh, really?
My thing froze up perfectly, so I'm not messing with it.
Oh crap! I just messed up my thing. So we're going to talk about our primary research location. We don't really name it. I don't know if we've ever actually named it. Have we named it on the other episodes?
I don't think we have.
All right, good. Then we can keep that secret.
Yeah.
Um,
There are certain people that know where the research area is, but we don't.
yeah, we just don't name it. We brought on a friend of ours, Tato, also a eyewitness at this location.
are you crocheting?
I'm trying to. My hand doesn't work very well, so I'm attempting.
Tato's joining us today to tell us about her encounter or her what she witnessed at this primary research location of ours. But we will. I think Randy, I'll have you talk about it at least. What this area is like, kind of how we found it. And,
How we found it?
well, how we found it was pretty funny, but
How we found it? Oh,
you can see it on episode 7 on Hulu.
How we found it? The site itself was for years. I ran I'll just call it what it was, a LARP.
Mm-hmm.
Most people won't know
You
what
do
that
get
is.
shy
Live
about
action
that.
role play. But I ran a LARP off of this site.
That's how I met Randy.
And because of a sighting that I had at an event and several instances that people had there at that same event that we didn't know about for years. We talked about that, the stuff like where, Manning heard the wood knocks, and we had a couple that had a tree shaken at them. We had a girl that was I can't remember her name, but the girl that had something growl at her.
Oh, I know who
It
you're
was all
talking about,
during a 2-week span that we were all there. But that kind of turned us on to the area. We knew something was there, and we ended up using several trips into this area to kind of identify where they were hanging out. We'll say.
yeah. And that was also the we had talked about before was when I had done the first big trip down to document. This was we had talked about, we had shown footage on, was it last episode? I don't know which one, just what episode has been released at this point, but we showed the footage from the quarry, and that was the day before going to this primary research area, this campsite. And we had gotten a sponsor to rent the camp for us, so we
Yeah.
could stay there for the 2 weeks, or at least 10 days or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 10 days.
And it was weird, was we didn't know what we were gonna do when we first got there. Like, once we were there, we're like, okay, we got a camera, we got equipment, we got the site, we got time to be here. I remember just being like, well, what do we do now? Like, once you're there, like, what do you do?
Do you remember when we first got there to that cabin that they knocked?
Right.
They knocked on the tree right as soon as we got there.
Yeah, I remember we went down to the C section, which is right by the trail that we go down, and we had just unloaded all the equipment into the cabin because we were like, we're gonna stay right here. This is where we're gonna stay. That didn't last long. Once nighttime came, I was like, what are we doing? This is scary as hell, man. It's just you and me here. Yeah, we had just unloaded and we were about to like go out on the trail, and like straight up the tree just outside, like at the back side of the cabin, just 2 loud knocks, like right there. I remember just my heart dropping, and I was like, "What the hell was that?"
Yeah. It's a very active area. Like, it's the most active area we've got, definitely. And one reason that I think that we have so much activity in that area is based on, this is going to sound weird, is that they know me in that area. And it's because we've ran events there for so many years, over a decade, and they live right near the site, within a mile of the site is where they're generally hanging out through the day.
And how long has
So they're
that campsite been there?
About 40 years.
And it's been a youth camp too for 40 years.
Yeah.
So like whatever's out there has been living in very close proximity to humans on a rotational basis, basically, like coming and going.
This is the place where you had your first actual sighting too, Randy, right? Like, isn't this the one
Yes.
that like got you back in after the lull that you took?
Yeah. I got out of Bigfooting there for several years. Wanted nothing to do with it. And then that's when I had my sighting, was after I had, gotten out of it and didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah,
Was,
he was like, "Come on back in, buddy."
The LARP Squatch.
Yeah.
LARP squad, yep. But it was at one of the LARPs, at one of the events, I should say, at the LARP, that Tato had her sighting. And I don't remember what event it was because they all bleed together. If Tato remembers like any kind of details on that, that's great. But that was many. What year was that? Do you know what year that was, Tato?
Oh gosh. That had to easily be over 10, 12, maybe even 15 years ago.
Yeah, it's been
It
a
was
while.
100 years ago.
Yeah. It was before I had my sighting, her encounter. So
Tato, why don't you tell us about what happened?
Okay. Oh gosh. So I had gone up the way that the area is there was a group of cabins up a hill, and there was a little sidewalk area that was covered in brush, and then the tavern area, like the mess hall, down below it. And I had gone up that way to the bathroom by myself, and I was coming back, and I'm just, walking through the darkness thinking nothing of it, because I didn't believe in this stuff before. I liked Bigfoot as, like, a little character, but as I was walking, I kept hearing something matching my footsteps, and I thought, what is that? So I would stop, and it would, like, half a step behind me, and it's like, okay. So I just kept going, and then I saw from the light from the mess hall somebody in the woods, very tall, kind of half crouched, like they were trying to follow me. And I thought, okay, that's Randy, because only Randy is so tall. So I just plant my feet down, and I put my hands on my hips, and I look at him, and I smile real big, thinking he's going to pop out and get me, and I'm going to laugh about it, and then they'll have to spend time to come find me because I've been kidnapped. And I'm just staring at him down like, all right. And then he didn't move. And I was like, okay. And I started getting the outline of it. He was too tall to be Randy, but only Randy's that tall. And I thought, who is this guy? I'm just going to leave. So I just slowly sidestep, waiting for him to come out because I didn't want him to scare me. And then I just got to where other people saw me, called out to me, and then I just went in and I said, hey guys, Randy's back there trying to scare people. And that's when somebody said, no, Randy is back at headquarters having a seizure. And I felt the color drain from my face because nobody's that tall.
Yeah, Randy's the biggest one in the group. That's wild. And that was years before your sighting, Randy, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Several years before my sighting. And but we had another individual who had a sighting on this, near where Tato had hers,
Mm-hmm.
and it was of the same thing. It was of this giant. They called it a giant guy that just froze and would not move. And all they saw him, was the silhouette, the shadows of this giant guy, as they call it.
So did you think it was a Bigfoot at that moment, or was it just years later when people started having more sightings? You were like, I actually think that's what I saw then.
Um, I had like an idea that might have been what it was, but I didn't want to believe it because you don't normally believe things like that until it happens to you. And then I was just kind of like, okay, well, I could have died. I'm fine. And then as I went out with you guys more often, hearing and seeing more strange things, it's like, okay, yeah, this is fine.
Well, like, they're not that scary.
It's kind of like when you see ghosts. I mean, I believe in ghosts. I'm probably the only person. When you see one, you're like, oh, that happened. Okay.
Your
Yep,
brain,
yeah.
your brain kind of locks it away of like, we'll deal with this at some point. That's
Yeah, Tato's been out there with us whenever we've had Jazz,
yeah.
Knocking at us. She's been out there when we've been followed through the woods before.
Tato,
In the primary spot.
you came out during the time when we were doing the 10 days, right? As well. You came out. You came out for a few of those days. And joined us out on the trail. That was the thing when we talked about this. I think we have talked about this, was that it took some years of everyone finally talking about what happened during that 12-day event for Randy to be like, wait a minute, there was all this stuff, like everyone kind of experienced something. But just not knowing what it was. Like I said, I was getting up early in the morning and hearing wood knocks in the morning, but I was also the only one up. Not, like I've always said, I'm from up here in New England. The woods make sounds, so. But then actually hearing, wood knocks and my own experiences afterwards, and then understanding later on, I was like, oh, that's what I was hearing in the morning. They were being like, he's up again.
Yeah, they're keeping eyes on you.
Yeah.
So Randy, what do you remember about that? Did you think did you think in the moment that that's what she saw, or were you just like, who's out there?
I remember after she told us about it, like later on that event, we went out into the woods looking around to see if we could find somebody, to see if there was like maybe just somebody like a mundane, what we called mundanes, which were people that aren't supposed to be there.
Right.
So we checked the woods, but we didn't find anything.
And that's the creepy
Which
part.
made it that much creepier.
Yeah. And like we said, this place has been here for like 40 years. This youth camp, and at the end of when we did the 10-day trip, that was the day when we were packing up, and Catman was like, we need to go read all the stuff that's written inside these cabins.
Yeah.
And just so to explain, this is where it gets really creepy. And I think I've talked about this a little bit, but inside all these cabins are all wooden. They've been here for a long time. They've been, the youth camps, all these kids have come through, people have rented it out and stuff. Well, they've written and graffitied on inside, but a lot of it's like, oh, camp this, summer of blah, some of this. Well, Catman, when we had told him he had to stay down there in those cabins as bait, and he was up during the night, he was reading those things, and he discovered that there was a lot more with like encounters that had happened.
Yeah.
And they were documented on the inside of these cabins by these kids. And we went through for like 2 hours in each, like all these cabins, and I was snapping photos and videos of all these like little signatures from like, the 80s and like I think the late 70s, and like just like, oh, we
Just
careful.
decades past, yeah.
Yeah, there's like they were saying like Indian whooping in the woods. There's
Yep.
the woodman that stares at us from the wood line. There was like, and it just dates all these like different years and different time
One
frames.
said when the monsters come, give them chocolate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, and it was that was like that was our last day, and we were getting ready to leave. And the other people who had rented the site were coming in when we were doing this and like had discovered this, and it was like we had to leave with being like, "Oh my god!" Like that was like the
We just
most.
scratched the surface of this whole thing.
Yeah, and I was like, "This has been happening for a very, very long time since this campsite's been here." And that's kind of the deal with some people when I talk about this location is like when I can show them like all the photos and stuff of all those little encounter, script little writings from these kids, teenagers and stuff through the years, decades.
Did you get pictures of that?
Oh yeah, I gotta
Yeah,
pull them all
I'd
up.
like to see them. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to go through all of them. There's a lot. Because I would want to go through and actually like circle it because I'd be like taking big screen shots of everything. But like I remember us going through and like ripping the cabin like bunk beds away so we could see them all and like reading the ceiling and like because there was so much written everywhere. But we're like we have to figure out how much we were trying to get as much because we had to get off the site pretty quick when we had figured this all out. But that's when it like that disturbed us when we were leaving the site. I remember us in the car being like, "That's really messed up. That's really messed up."
Yeah.
And a
I've
lot
hiked through there. I've hiked through the primary site once, the campsite, and there'd be a church group up there, and I found like kids, like down the trail, by themselves, just huddled up and over in the woods, like reading the Bible, or reading a book,
yeah,
or something like that. Just thinking like these people have no fucking clue what's living in these woods out here.
just watching them,
And here's this kid out here like
just reading, just getting
doing Bible stories.
sitting on a nice, sitting in a sunbeam on some moss, reading his Bible. There's a big
He's using the Mark
Sasquatch.
Wahlberg app.
Yeah, he's using his Mark Wahlberg app. And there's a big Sasquatch just watching them nearby. I've also, after we have like started doing all this research in this area, had to think back the amount of times I myself at these like LARP events had been just running through these woods at night by myself.
Oh yeah.
Not thinking of any of this stuff because we were out just playing a game and stuff, having fun, and then being like, "Oh my god." Because there was times in the morning I would get up early and I'd walk down to the bridge where the river is. You cross over to go to the trail. And I usually would go down there and have like a cigarette in the morning. And I always got this weird feeling that someone was watching me when I was down there. And I used to be like thinking it was like Andrew, it was Cujo or one of the guys coming down or something like that. But I never thought anything of it. I always thought it was like somebody. But I always had a weird feeling when I was down there.
They probably were watching you.
No, they probably were. I was out there smoking, so they were probably like, "Whoa, what's he doing?" I mean, they've had entertainment for years. Watching youth groups, watching us.
I can only imagine that's what we were to them. That has to be. Like a bunch of colorful costumes and people with weird ears and
hitting each other
with weapons,
just yelling,
screaming at all hours of the night. So
I remember you had
we were far more entertaining than the church groups were. I guarantee it.
Yeah. I wonder if we scared them a little bit when we showed up though, with all the different makeup and stuff.
Yeah, they're used to like singing hymns, and then there you guys are with war cries.
Wow. Site's so good. I remember Randy that first night being there. We had talked about it was just me and Randy at that site, and he was like, "This is the first time it's just like there's not like a ton of people here,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. I was watching that footage. It was there was a lot of stuff that happened, but like again, like we always say, like when you're trying to document or even try to like do this research, you just got to be prepared to experience it. You're not gonna always get it documented. We had a lot of things happen to us during it that just didn't get captured.
Yeah, with the part where they were basically batting us from A section to B section
Yeah,
repeatedly.
yeah,
We would go over to where they were in the woods, like knocking at us in A section, and then they would start doing it in B section, and we're like, oh shit, they're over there. We'll go back over to B section and literally start back up in A section.
they'd ping pong us around the site.
Yeah.
There was the night your wife was there. You guys went down to C section at night, and I was lagging behind. And right as I was coming up, a massive rock got thrown at the cabin, like right in front of you guys.
Yeah, we all saw that. Yeah.
I heard it from up the trail. I was like, "What was that bang?" They're like, "Something just got thrown at us." Like, holy crap!
Yeah.
You just never know what the hell's gonna happen. Like, and the other part, I remember we had discussed like, well, maybe we gotta like poke them a little bit, and then we were like, we're just out here by ourselves. We shouldn't do that. Like, they'll just come in and they'll come and take us.
Well, I mean, at this point, Randy just brings them gifts and everything else out there. So
That's true. They're probably like he brings the good stuff.
I've actually went out there before, put the fruit out, and then yelled, I just brought you some fruit. Like yelled it out loud, and just one loud, hard wood knock. Like respond from that. Like, okay, and I swear to God, it felt like, okay, golf.
Thanks, get out.
If you could interpret a wood knock, like the how hard it was and how, you know.
Leave it at the door.
Get out.
Oh man. They're temperamental up there too. It's weird. I wanted to ask, remember that group that came in, like I said, when we were there for the 10 days, like kind of poking and prodding them the whole time, that or at least interacting with them, that there was a group that came in and took over the camp after us. And I remember us laughing like, oh, they're about to have a very interesting week here. I always wanted to go talk. I wish I could have like talked to them afterwards. Because they were staying right down there in C section. They were like moving into that area. I was like, you guys are going to have a good night.
Yeah, people have no idea what's going on this side at all.
Because that's the same area we found the footprints. We found the rock got thrown at your head when you called them assholes.
That's true, yeah. I forgot about that.
You can hear it on the audio and the camera. Because it's like pitch
That's
black.
That's on the nest too, right?
What's that?
We went out there that one time and you found that nest.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, most of this is all in the same area. But the rock got thrown. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
We were out there trying to get some activity going on, and we knew they were in the area, and they just were not playing along at all. And I said, you guys are making me look like an asshole. And a rock about the size of a freaking softball just goes right past my head.
Yeah.
Like out of the woods. Like it went between me and Manning.
Yeah. Right, because we're right next to we have a one spot that we knock at. We're right next to that tree. It went right between the two of us. You can hear it in the audio of the camera. You hear this thing go we both go like, ooh.
So yeah.
Well, because you guys were up there doing the events, you made friends with the park rangers up there too, and they had some interesting stories that they were.
Oh yeah, they did. Yeah, they told us about an interesting story where there was a couple from Nashville that came in and said they needed to speak to one of the rangers, and told them that their kids had spent the afternoon at their campsite, the little small campsite. This wasn't at our campsite. This is one of the smaller campsites there in the park, the same park. But that they were. I may have just identified what we're talking about. Hold on, edit this out.
No, you're good. You're good.
I don't think you did.
No, you haven't
Yeah,
said
okay.
anything.
Smaller campsite, and that their kids had spent like the afternoon building a fort, as they called it, and it was just like sticks between these 3 oak trees, like that they could get in there, crawl in, inside of,
Yeah.
and said that their kids had woke them up that early that morning, about 2 a.m. in the morning, and said that Bigfoot had smashed their fort. That they had woke up, looked out the back window of their tent, and a Bigfoot was smashing their fort.
Oh my God.
And that the Rangers were like basically saying that these parents were like, our kids don't make stories like this up. Like, this is why we need to let somebody know this happened, because our kids, would just not make something like this up at all.
Yeah.
And so the Rangers told me about that.
How old were the
there was-
kids?
I think they're about 9 and 11. I think he said.
Fucking imagine seeing that out in the woods. You're like, oh, that's
But
scary.
they're from Nashville, he said. They've told me some crazy stories, the Rangers have. Not just Bigfoot, really, just crazy stories in general about stuff that goes on inside the park. They
Yeah,
got
one of the-
called.
One of the trails that we take, didn't they say they almost abandoned that because there's so much brush piled up there every single time they go back?
They did. There is a trail that's on. If you go to in the park, near one of the main offices, there's a big 3D rendering of the park, like a map, and you'll see a trail on that map that actually is no longer being. They don't take care of it anymore. They don't do upkeep on it anymore because they said that it just became too problematic with all the trees that were falling. So they just gave up on it.
We got to go up there.
It's right near where our trail is.
We should go check out that one. Apparently, they don't like people going up there. See, that's
But like the park rangers told me a crazy story. This has nothing to do with Bigfoot. It's just nuts.
Go ahead, tell it.
That they got called out to this morning man who was just like bawling and squalling comes into the one of the offices and is like, my wife fell off a cliff.
Oh my
And
God.
they were hiking and they went to look over the side and the wife fell over the side. And so they get called out, they're out there doing search and rescue to see, expecting her to be dead.
Yeah.
They rappel down the cliff about 50 feet, and she's down there hanging on to a fucking piece of rock. And she's still alive.
Oh my
And she
God.
explains to them that her hubby pushed her when she looked over. Yeah.
Oh.
And so that guy ended up going to prison.
Attempted murder. Oh
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, I've not heard of that one.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they got about 50 foot down the cliff, and she was hanging on.
She was like, I'm gonna get you, you motherfucker.
Yeah, she wouldn't let go.
Yeah. Oh wow. How old were they? Do you know what their age was?
I don't know. He didn't say. He just
What was
relayed
the-
the story about some of the crazy stuff that goes on in the park they have to deal with.
I can only imagine.
What was the story of the guy camping at the end of the trail that we take, and then he ended up calling in?
The end of our trail, the end of the trail that we go on, where our hot spot is, you can't stay on that trail 3.5 miles. You'll end up at this primitive campsite. And when I say primitive, I mean it's literally a fire ring. That's it. There's no bathrooms out there. There's nothing. It's just a
Have
fire
we
ring.
gone out there?
No.
I swear.
I mean, I've been out there before, but like you've never been out there. But
Yeah, I don't think I've gone that far
It's
out.
a trek past where we go.
Okay.
But this guy had went out there in, I believe it was February.
Ooh.
They said it was cold,
Yeah.
but got all the way back there to that fire ring, and he called the Rangers and said, "I need to be evacuated out. I sprained my ankle and I can't get out." And so they go down the trail that we use on a 6-wheeler, going to go get this guy. And they said they get out there, and they said that when they get out there, they can see him walking a circle. So his foot's fine, but he's walking a circle, and he's walking around just nervous as can be. It looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And so they get up there, and he said something is out here. Something's out here, and it's tracking me, and I want out of here. And so this guy got so freaked out that whatever was out there messing with him, that he called the Rangers and told the Rangers that he was hurt, so they'd come and get him.
They come get him fast too.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, my favorite part is you said that they stuck him on the back of the six where they're like facing the dark.
Yeah.
And made him like face the back
Mm.
the whole way back, which would be terrifying.
Yeah, you just see the red tint of the brake lights, and that's it. That's
Just
all the light
something-
you have.
Something chasing you.
3.5 miles of doing about, I can't even imagine how slow you'd have to go on that
Yeah.
trail.
Yeah, they're not going too fast down that trail.
Yeah.
But also,
He said
like,
He said they made sure to take their time. So
but was that the first night? Do we know if that
the first night that guy was out there,
Oh
yeah.
my god. He's probably getting set up and being like, "Oh, this is gonna be relaxing, nice," and then Archie coming in, freaking.
I would not want to be that far out and then have them coming in and messing with me. Like that's too far out to be
That's scary.
messing with Sasquatch.
When are we doing that?
I guess next time you're down here.
I guess.
Yeah, we're waiting on you, man. Although I prefer not February.
Yeah, I'd rather not do February either. I don't want to do. Yeah, that's a hard part about this. That's just so scary. That's the other part. Is it's just so scary.
Mark is always trying to get us to go camping and stuff out there too, like at the wasteland, at the quarry or whatever. He always tries to get us to do that. There's been different places that he's talked about going camping, and I couldn't do it. But Manning, if you come up, I will go out.
That will be.
Well, we're pretty armed, so that is a little bit comforting.
Yeah. I'm coming with that camera though. I'd have to be really on point. That's gonna be scary as hell because they will show up. There's no way they won't if we stay at that campsite.
I'm pretty sure they would, yeah.
They'll be like, "What's going on?" It's about time you come out and say hello. You know?
We've been waiting.
We've been waiting for you guys. What else do we want to talk about on this site? We've talked about some freaky stuff. I like confirming stuff. Have the
There's so
Rangers?
much stuff that's happened up there.
I feel like some of it needs to be saved for the Catman episode too.
Yeah.
Catman.
Yeah.
Catman's gone up there a bunch with you.
Yeah,
Is it-
Catman's been out with me and Tato.
Yeah.
So,
Like that's where the Robin Williams Chewbacca was, right?
yeah.
The what?
When he saw his, he described what he saw as being somewhere between Robin Williams and Chewbacca in hairiness.
But my dad.
Yeah, there we go.
All right.
Oh, that's funny. That's
That
funny.
could just be my Italian family that y'all saw.
Yeah, just running around the Appalachian.
Yeah, I mean, if they're doing this, that's my family.
Houston, what's your experiences out on this area?
That was the first place that Randy took me where I actually heard wood knocks. First time I was out, I believe it was one of the first times. And Randy said, like, when we got up to a certain point in the trail, he's like, if they're going to knock, it'll be right here. And then we walked maybe 30 foot, and sure enough, that's where we heard the wood knocks. That's the place, again, we try to go back to the most. That's one we frequent the most, but again, I've not heard anything up there in probably about 2 years. I know, Randy, that last time you took that lady out, that journalist actually, you had wood knocks, but it's been a while for me.
Yeah, when did you take the journalist out? That was recent.
It was probably September, mid-September, late September. I was surprised, man. Like she carried one of those old-fashioned
Big
video cameras.
Yeah.
She carried that thing and a tripod the entire way out there to where we knock.
That's a long trail.
Yeah. That was a trek.
I forget every time we go out. This last time I was down for the convention when we went out there, I was like, hitting trail, and I was like, are we there yet? I'm like, good God.
Yeah, it's a trek out there.
Yeah.
But she actually fell on the way out. It got dark, and I'm like, I don't want to be out here in the dark, to be honest.
Yeah.
And she fell actually on the way out. Just before we got off the trail, she fell on the trail. But man, she was like gung ho. I give nothing but credit to Miss name's Tisha Emberton. Like she was gung ho as hell about that.
What was her reaction to the wood knock though? When it happened,
her eyes kind of got big, and she just kind of stood there.
Was it a
They were knocking at each other when we got there.
Oh.
And I started to knock, and they shut up when I started knocking. So.
Well, you're rude. You interrupted their conversation.
Right, apparently.
He brought another one up here.
But I think they were knocking, basically being like, "Hey, they're here," because it was right about the time we got there. We noticed the knocking happening, and that's when like she's like, "Do it back." So I knocked back.
Jazz is?
Where Jazz is, yeah.
Yeah, see. I've never heard that, but I know y'all talked about.
Yeah.
The first time
Jazz is the one that has rhythm.
Yeah. First time hearing Jazz's like wood knock was like you're like you're used to hearing like a very like bump bump bump, like just very straightforward, and then hearing like that
Yeah,
it's just like
he throws some funk on it.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Have you guys ever thought about bringing like a drum and seeing if they do anything when you guys beat on that?
On a drum?
Yeah.
I have not.
Oh, I thought you said drone.
No, not a drone.
We've always talked about doing music out there, but we just never have done it in any way, shape, either.
Yeah, there's several researchers I know that actually they go out and they play guitar and stuff like that in their hot spots, and they get all kinds of great responses from it. Yeah. I'm not musically inclined, so
one of the people that we're going to try to have on soon, I know she's done like singing bowls and different stuff like that and had responses.
Yeah. That's in a completely different area too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a lot of ideas to try to we've come up with some wacky ideas to get some responses. I think my favorite idea that Randy ever had was during the solar eclipse. Do you remember that idea?
Yeah.
So, big bonfire.
Oh yeah.
And then we had was it fake monkey masks? And we were gonna perform act like we were performing this big loud ritual, and then like right when the sun gets blocked out, like duck down, and then when the sun comes back up, like put the monkey masks on and see if they like freak out. Like
surely not.
We think about all kinds of like, how can we get them to respond to us? How can we freak them out?
Again, if something was to happen though, would you guys ever be able to retell that story?
Me and Randy have come to the conclusion like we're the most easily people could just be like fakes to us. Like I'm a filmmaker, like already. People are like he can fake it, so it doesn't even matter to me now. Me, I just kind of am like chasing that, like wanting to get the experience again. Honestly,
yeah. The Bigfoot powwow.
Yeah.
That's what keeps me going. Still, is just the next one.
Yeah.
When the next one happens.
That's why I like sat on this footage forever. Just like I still look at it, and I'm like, wow, this happened. This is crazy. But no one, again, like we said, it's like talking to our family. It's like it's either you're into it or you're not, or you're open to it or you're not. So it's just.
I think that episode turned out well. Like I said, it looked like a documentary.
Yeah, it did. I liked it. It was cool seeing it like played out and talked over and like actual commentary of it.
Yeah.
What was going on. It was a freaky first experience. I will say that. But anything else? Anything else?
Nothing I can think of off the top of my head right now. There's tons and tons and tons of stuff, you know, that has happened up there, like just incidents after incident after incident. But trying to come up with like something that, you know, is not the same.
Yeah, I mean, we get a lot of the normal, like we have a lot of tree breaks, we have a lot of wood knocks, and
Arches, tree
a
arches,
lot of tree
especially up
arches.
in that area. That's why we call her. That's why we call our resident, you know, alpha male Archie.
A lot of
I
arches.
mean, a lot of rocks thrown, but again, I mean that's important when you're out there and you're getting rocks thrown at you in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, it's common.
A lot of rocks
Yeah.
being thrown. Randy got a great one on the YouTube page of the rock getting just kind of tossed up onto the trail.
Yeah,
I have
there was an
watched-
iron concretion too. I've got that.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I
So
remember-
it's iron concretion. So like, if that would have been thrown at someone's head, they'd be dead.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. What is that?
It's basically a big chunk of iron ore that has formed around like a solid into a solid ball. And the rock that was thrown in that video when I went back to get it is an iron concretion about that big around.
I watched that footage like so much and like slowing it down because like the angle, like because the side of the trail just kind of slopes down and like you just see the rock just kind of come up and like just a bloop onto the trail. It's like it's just right there. It had to have been just laying right there.
Hey, he's like right down there. When I turn my head and look in the video, like there's a little black dot you'll see in this one spot, and I kind of think that's him looking from behind a tree.
Mm. It's so funny the amount of times just like that happens and you're like you get the evidence like the rock being thrown, but it's just like they're right there and you can't see them, you can't find them. Like they're just so good at fucking hiding. But I think that wraps up this episode, fellas.
All right.
Tato, thank you.
Tato, thank you for coming on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're the first one I've ever had on.
Yeah, your first guest. First guest to come on. But good night, everyone. Have a good 2025, and make sure you reach out to us through our email if you have any questions or experiences you'd like to share, or any ideas you'd like for us to talk about on the show. Please reach out. Have a good night. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
See ya.